Sargon of Akkad, Carl Benjamin. Anyone who's at least dipped their toes into right-wing media over the past 15 years or so, you know who this man is. My own personal experience of Sargon dates back to 2013 or so. It's hard to pinpoint exactly since most of his legacy videos have been purged or he's deleted them, so we're going to go off my almost perfect memory of events. I arrived at university on the path of working towards my worthless degree in international politics, and as an 18-year-old, I at least knew that I knew nothing. I was deep into the new atheist and skeptic movement online at the time, and then a new flavour of content came out which all the would-be chuds at the time would rally behind. This was the anti-feminist and Gamergate era, which defined this period of online politics. See my comprehensive breakdown of Gamergate if you want a lore refresh on this. And for me, Sargon of Akkad was the voice I listened to the most. He was measured, persuasive, and his videos were simply entertaining to get the latest insight on whatever topic was relevant at the time.
Because that's what it's all about. When life hands you lemons, you just Sarge on. You just Sargon of Akkad. When life's got you down, you don't know who to turn to, you turn to Sargon of Akkad. Sargon of Akkad made me everything that I am today. Rational, atheist, MGTOW, libertarian. When I saw Sargon of Akkad, I knew that I had found my guru for life who was going to help me. And here I am. Thank you, Sargon.
But times change. People evolve. The political scene undergoes paradigm shifts all the time. And creators who were making content back then, they very rarely stand the test of time. They might move away from content for personal reasons, they might fade into obscurity due to a lack of relevance, or they might descend into becoming a lolcow. And guys, if I'm to reach the lolcow status, the channel needs to grow. So do the thing the algorithm likes. I've set up a buy me a coffee page if you want to support the channel directly. But anyways, in the alt media space, some persevere and continue to stay in the scene, and in some extreme cases, they ascend to levels higher than anyone could have ever anticipated. Sargon of Akkad is the best example of being this exception. But there was a period of time, around 2016, 2017 or so, where the right-wing zeitgeist had moved on from classical liberalism and individualism, and Sargon found himself at a crossroads.
Under which we are governed. Individual people are governed. The purpose of the state,
group.
In say Britain, as conceived of by Locke, is the protection of the rights of the individual.
As conceived of by Locke, that state was not invented by Locke. That state has a history far greater than Locke. It's ridiculous. Locke wrote this, therefore it's true.
Okay.
This is exactly what I'm saying. You're living in an autistic, dissociated reality where you ask moral questions like, shall a group have a right over an individual? Oh, isn't this so sweet? It's irrelevant because in reality, groups obviously have rights. The government can arrest me. The government taxes me. The government forces me to do all sorts of things. The United Kingdom prevents me from entering the country. Obviously, corporate entities have rights. Your family has a certain hold over you. I don't know anything about you personally. What your father says to you has more weight than what a complete stranger, what I might say to you.
The central question is whether whites have the right to organize for their own group interests or not.
That's preposterous! Have you even read Locke? Oh my god, I can't even! Have you even read Thomas Paine? Jesus Christ, do you even have authorities to appeal to? Sargon, I think your problem is you're full of shit.
A turning point was the famous debate between himself and Richard Spencer. A few others were involved, like Sticks and Hammer, who popped in and out throughout the debate on the Warsky live show. We watched the majority of this debate as a nostalgia trip on stream, and it was very interesting to hear these people, especially Sargon, argue against identity politics through the legacy talking points he once held so dearly.
I ask a very simple question. Do you pay taxes? Do you obey traffic laws?
Yeah, believe it or not, I do.
But wait, do you believe in group rights? I mean, do you?
How is that group right?
Because you're forced to do that by the state. Did you sign a contract in order to be a citizen of the UK? The United Kingdom, obviously. Why is that funny?
Okay, so we want to talk about the nation state. Is that what you want to talk about? Or do you want to talk about racial identitarianism?
Is the nation state a group or not?
Is racial identitarianism something I have no choice over?
Why don't you answer the question I asked
Why don't you
you?
answer my question?
Well, I asked you a question, you haven't answered it.
Okay,
And I've not made it clear already, because while it can be funny to laugh and poke fun at what someone said 10 years ago, stepping into the debate arena like this does take a level of courage. Putting your ideas on the table to challenge someone else for thousands of people to observe, it takes balls. I can't imagine myself doing this 10 years ago, because like every one of you watching, there was a time where you hadn't figured it all out. And guess what? We probably still don't have it all figured out. But by willing to be wrong, to learn and to grow, we take one step closer to the truth. Everyone is on their own journey, and to mock Sargon, in hindsight, without looking yourself into the mirror of your own past beliefs, shows that you, yourself, have some growing to do. The Arc of Sargon is very valuable, because I can relate to it, and I'm sure many of you are in the same boat. We were watching Stefan Molyneux, and maybe later Jordan Peterson, and figures like them who drilled into our brains that collectivism is the greatest evil. Did you know the communists are collectivists? You're not a communist, are you? Collectivism will lead to 100 million people perishing in a gulag. It sounds scary, doesn't it? And through the lens of the Marxist collectivism, which evolved into the cultural Marxism we see today, used by identities of ethnic and sexual minorities to destroy Western civilization, it sounds like the root of all evil is collectivism itself.
I mean, I'm amazed at how much ad hominem you come out with in this, and how much pathos you've been arguing with. Very little logos, very little ethos, but so much to do with your feelings. It's so weird. I mean, like, let's talk about like
So
the
weird.
white identity.
It's almost like
no. Hang on. Let's
it's
get to the
almost
white
like
identity,
I'm a
'cause this
human
genuinely-
being existing in the real world, and I'm not a
like
computer
person who
program.
really
or
understands what they're
something.
talking about.
But through incentivizing self-deportation combined with cutting off welfare state programs, we wouldn't need to round up anyone.
Oh yeah?
And over time, the problem will take care of itself.
Oh my god! It's like you've never even read Adam Smith. You're such a collectivist. Have you even read Kant? The Enlightenment philosophers laid down immutable principles and laws that will reign true until the end of time.
A corporation does not have the legitimacy to violate an individual's rights, because the corporation's rights do not supersede the rights of the individuals that make it up. And we all agree that that's how we should have a government working. Like, that's how society should work. Because if you don't agree with that, then what you're saying is it's okay for a group to violate the rights of other people, like the individual, for its own purposes.
You're not living in what state are you describing?
Richard,
Because
sound
you are
more
not
fucking
describing the
leftist
United
for a minute
Kingdom,
and actually try and put
which
some critical
goes to
political skills into
war,
what you've said?
which arrests
Just
people,
stop
violates their rights
acting
left and
like
right,
you're
goes to
talking from
war.
a spiritual
What are you
position. Use
The problem is those principles have been perverted, which will lead to the annihilation of the very people who formulated and maintained them.
Who cares? Now tell me, you moron. What exactly is white?
Sargon, do you believe in puddles?
What? Puddles? I live in the United Kingdom. How could I not believe in puddles? I see them every day when I walk out the door.
Now tell me exactly how much H2O it takes to form a puddle.
What?
How much water does it take to make a puddle?
Will you just look at them? Isn't it obvious?
No, Sargon, that's not scientific enough. I need an exact volume of water. Where do you draw the line between a pond and a lake? How many liters?
But the Enlightenment...
It was here that for Sargon and many of us watching that we began to learn that the classical liberal worldview is not a defense to the evils that both he and Spencer wanted to fight against. Both were arguing through their lens of their own idealism, but Sargon did not consider that his worldview itself was idealistic. It was as if the classical liberal worldview, as conceived by Locke, was a given in itself of how Western society is supposed to be. But in reality, all you have to do is look outside and you'll conclude that this isn't the case, especially not anymore. This reminds me of what radical progressives say today when you hear them try to justify their position. They'll say, I believe in X because I'm a heckin' good person. It's as if they view their perception of reality only through their narrow lens of liberalism, unable to put themselves in another person's shoes or have a perspective from an alternative view. And as a quick aside, this is why all supposed historical period piece films, maybe shows and games, or really any film or game for that matter, They completely miss the mark because the creators are only capable of projecting their own worldview into the so-called art they create with no subtlety whatsoever. This is in part of why everything is so unbearable now. You could point out themes that are subversive in shows like The Simpsons or games like Mass Effect, but at least you could still look past it to enjoy them. But now the political message is the medium, while the game or film is just simply the vessel to deliver it. But anyways, I'm getting distracted here. I still stayed subscribed to Sargon and would occasionally tune in, but while I was off the deep end into the dissident right space, Sargon appeared to be holding the centre. And I'm not sure when it happened, but over the course of a few years, that he began to pivot and soon began to embrace talking points he attacked people like Spencer or Mark Collett having years prior. Was this just to keep the grift going? Did he see where the wind was blowing and decided to maintain relevance that he should jump ship onto the real right-wing bandwagon? This is an argument that I've seen people make, and it's understandable. There are many cases of an influencer shifting their grift compass to a new direction to keep themselves part of the zeitgeist, but I actually disagree with this particular sentiment in regards to Sargon. I'm sure, like many of you, I've also been through a political, philosophical, and spiritual journey over the past 15 years, and seeing Sargon change over time is a reflection of many of us who are lost and simply trying to find our way.
What are you doing? You're getting destroyed out there.
The pills, they aren't working. You told me they would make me smarter. But I don't have the right words. What's happening to me?
How many of these have you been taking? I told you only one a day. And so you see, while it may be difficult to define where white begins and ends, to say that it doesn't exist is just disingenuous.
All right, Sargon, now do you have a rebuttal?
Holy shit, what was that?
Twitter's blowing up. Looks like something strange is going on downtown.
We need to get down there quick.
And as I said at the start, I used to be a new atheist who would watch those Dawkins, Hitchens, Harris slam dunk these silly religious types. Don't you know, we're all just stardust? And then I began to embrace the classical liberal tradition. But soon I realised certain conflicts between other groups such as Islam, they're not reconcilable, which caused me to become more conservative as a means to protect the classical liberal tradition. Then in this frame of mind I became more libertarian as I saw the big government as the root of all evil. And then I became more of a free market type that would enjoy maybe one too many of those Ben Shapiro destroying liberal feminist videos with facts. Ben Shapiro eviscerates woke student in front of her family, leaving a bloody mess. Ben Shapiro bulldozes entire Palestinian village with logic and reason. But soon I too realised that none of the above was going to protect my civilization I could see being subverted and destroyed from within. In time, seeing the absolute individualism, liberalism, and atheism as ideals being, ironically, a false god, they were actually the weak point, like gaps in a suit of armour, which allowed for all the inner deconstruction of everything I valued being taken away.
Everyone knows what is white.
If everyone knows,
it's
why can't you just tell me?
pointless.
If
Well,
everyone knows, why don't you just tell me?
okay, yeah. I'll ask you. Is Lawrence Fishburne white?
I don't know. Does he act white? He gets called white a lot.
No, he doesn't.
That's
Yes,
so
it does.
ridiculous.
There are.
That's
Just answer the question,
You
Sargon.
can sit there
Is
and
Lawrence
say this is
Fishburne
ridiculous,
white?
right? But you
It
are the
is.
guys. You are the ones who are saying, right, okay, you're genetically white, but you're also culturally white.
That's
You are
the
the ones.
thing.
That,
It doesn't matter. I'm asking
That's not
you
contradictory
to answer this.
at all.
I
Yeah,
know it's
exactly.
not contradictory.
Sargon, is Lawrence Fishburne white? Is Lawrence Fishburne white?
Because what you are saying
Is
is,
Lawrence Fishburne white?
did you stop beating your wife yet? Because that's what you're doing. Listen, right?
It's not the equivalent
I
question.
have just.
I don't know Sargon personally, but from being a consumer of his content for years, I too have witnessed the same sort of evolution within him. And when you watch his content now, it's pretty clear he knows what white is now. I think people like Sargon should be critiqued like any content figure out there, and I too am not free from any of these critiques. But I have the luxury of not being in this online scene making content as long as him, so I don't have the historical baggage of myself to overcome in the public space. But Sargon is a reflection that we are all on different paths, and ultimately, as long as you pursue truth over everything, we're all reaching the same goal at our own pace. If we look through a perennialist lens, there are many paths. Some are longer than others, some people might fall off their paths, but ultimately, we're all on the same side, and to attack one another because of some purity spiraling point that's not particularly relevant in the grand scheme of things is only going to set us back. Recently, there was a bit of drama regarding the idea of remigration when Steve Laws went on to Andrew Gould's podcast and making the case not just for remigration, but total remigration. Everyone must go. Sargon and some of the other Lotus Eater pundits dared to question this, and they were met by a tirade of abuse from the right-wing Anons for not being on the same team anymore. But by questioning the logistics and whether total remigration is good for the country and the British people as a whole, he was deemed as a subversive agent trying to derail the movement. To me, this is just an unfortunate symptom of right-wing movements, and I suppose left-wing movements as well, that any sort of questioning towards the new radical position that's gaining traction is therefore against it, and against the movement as a whole. I don't think that's a fair assessment, and in the grand scheme of things, Sargon of Akkad, and a quick aside here, in creating the Lotus Eaters as a real and established alternative media enterprise is a huge achievement for alternative media. They literally did the meme, not allowed on mainstream news, even the so-called based right-wing outlet GB News. Well, how about create your own? And that's exactly what he did. He then even tried to get involved in politics, which had, well, not too successful we'll say, but it's more than what many right-wing people would actually do. And also, have you ever seen an image with more chud energy like this? Sargon of Akkad and Count Dankula during their time in UKIP. I like how this is technically formal wear for Dankula. But anyways, I would love to hear what Sargon made of his appearance on Murdoch. It's the sort of question celebrities are asked when they appear on South Park. Some take it in stride, while others take it too seriously. But reflecting on a caricature of your old self, it must provide some level of reflection that everyone could appreciate in some way. Sargon is a case study of how people can evolve, change, and grow. Sargon even admitted to not really knowing much about politics or philosophy before making videos, so to observe him over the years as the case study, it's just a great example of what millions of other people are going through today. So while I've teased him a little in this video, I do hope you take away that just because you might not agree with everything he says, I think to simply throw aside someone who has done more for the movement than over 99% of people in the last 2 decades is really to shoot ourselves in the foot. If you continue to try to tear down everyone who speaks for you because they're not the perfect image of the Giga Chad base saviour who can do no wrong, then I'm afraid you're going to run out of figures of any prominence who are on your side until you're on your own. So what do you guys make of Sargon in 2016 compared to 2026? Let me know down below. Thanks very much for watching, and until next time.
Sargon! Murdoch! Friend?
Yeah, Sargon. Murdoch, Sargon, friend.
Feces?
Huh. I guess he was full of shit the whole time.
Oh, I've got such a pain in me Gulliver.
Now that the skeptics have been defeated, you think they'll join us?
That, or they'll go to work on the neocon conservative plantation.